What's going on, guys? As you can see, I've got a very damaged fender. This was actually damaged in shipping. This is a 67 Mustang, and we're not going to use this fender, but for this demonstration, I wanted to use this fender because it's very badly damaged. I'll definitely get you guys a closer shot in here, but so I've got my quarter panel done on the Mustang. I lined up my door to the quarter panel, and basically I'm moving forward. So this Mustang needed new fenders, and this happens a lot where you get something that's just been obliterated. Like I have no idea what even happened here. Like it's unexplainable. All I know is that when I received this, it actually said return on it. So, which was funny. It seemed like it was already returned at one point. So then they said, hey, keep that. We're going to send you another one. So this is not the one that we're going to use on this, but for this video, I thought that this would be a good one to use. So before we move forward, I want to just let you know that there's a reason why this gap looks so terrible, and it's because the fender is damaged. Most of the comments on my video are great. I appreciate you guys for watching, but you get the occasional person that's just like, that gap looks horrible, and obviously it does because the fender's damaged. It looks like the main impact was somewhere in this area right here. So I'm not sure if that's right where the rhinoceros horn went or what, but the main impact is right on this body line, and that obviously is going to need to be pulled out. So, and it's actually so bad that it's crinkled this stuff up so much that it doesn't fit down here at the bottom. It's actually like flared out because of the way that these fenders slip over the bottom. I guess it's like it is hung up on there. It's not going down. Now I could move this down that way a little bit. However, I just kind of got it temporarily mocked in place. The new fenders fit great, so I'm not like, there's no fitment issues on this car whatsoever. So this is just hanging there so that I can show you guys this demonstration. I'm trying to find some different angles where I can show you how bad this damage is. So as I go down here, you can see where I've got my door that goes into the quarter panel. If you just follow the body line down there, it's a nice straight line. Then as you go up here, this line somewhat matches up with this one, but then you go down here and everything's messed up. So you can see this thing is just not gonna fit. That down there is not the only damage. This actually has been rolled out on this slip too, or well, rolled in, I guess. So that it needs to be pulled back out so that this far corner can actually meet up with these mounting holes. So the main thing that I'm concerned about is seeing if we can get this big old dent out of there. I just think that it would be fun. So I've got a tool that I would like to try on this because I've seen these all over the place, and I was just curious, can this pull this dent out? All right, guys, so that brings us to this little guy. So I've seen these all over the place, and they have a slide hammer attachment on them, and they basically tack weld themselves to the car, and then you get a few good strikes with the slide hammer on there. Looking at this a little closer, very simple little machine. There's just a few adjustments on here. You've got an automatic and a manual mode, and I personally actually like it on the automatic mode because then you don't have to pull the trigger. As soon as it senses that it's touching bare metal, it'll automatically make the tack for you. So that's kind of nice. And then you obviously have your ground cable right here. I've used it a lot for pulling out little dings and sheet metal and stuff already, and that actually works really, really good. But for a bigger job like this, I'm just curious, how much can this thing actually do? All right, so for now, obviously we need to get this thing down to bare metal, and we're just gonna do this area here, and I'm gonna see if I can pull this thing out, because there's like an 1.5 inch gap right here from where it's like pushed in and needs to come out. So it's basically just a challenge for this little spot welder. All right, guys, we got the metal ground down. Now, machine has some power to it. I've got my ground going to the bottom of the fender. It's kind of like a hillbilly deal because the bottom of this obviously is not supposed to be clamped on with a panel clamp, but they do not send you a ground clamp with it. So I didn't have an extra one laying around, kind of too lazy to pull it off one of the other welders, but we're gonna see. All right, so to kind of demonstrate what's gonna happen, we've got the tip on there. You can change these tips. There's a whole box of different types of tips, but for right now, I'm just gonna show you. You can press it against the panel. This is manual mode, and you pull the trigger, and then it's gonna tack weld itself to that. So like right now, it's got a pretty good bite on there. You can take a few whacks at it with a slide hammer. I think I'm gonna have to clamp this thing down on there better. Oh yeah, okay. Well, I'm gonna get this thing supported better, but you see what happens. Now, in automatic mode, you basically just touch it, so no trigger at all, automatically does it. So, and then if you want to move on to a different spot, you think you got it about close, it's just really simple, twist it. That's probably the best way to not damage the metal. So again, we're gonna work on this area right here, that low spot, and you can actually get a few good strikes with it. Unfortunately, I can't figure out a way to support this, so I'm just gonna have to like maybe slide my knee against here and use that as leverage to try to pull this out. But yeah, the whole inner structure of it's all jacked up. So it's like, this thing is just, I don't know what happened to this. I'm starting to think maybe like T-Rexes got a hold of it or something. Also, it is probably a smart idea just to go ahead and wear some glasses for this. So safety first, right? Right here. Whoa, that's why you wear safety glasses. The body line is coming out, so that was the part I thought this thing might struggle with, but I can see the body line coming up a little bit. The inner structure of this thing I can tell is bent too, so it's going to be very hard to just use this. It needs to be like, you know, if this was something I was actually trying to fix and, you know, it was a car that, you know, you couldn't find a fender for, then I would be like taking it to a stand and just beating the snot out of it to try to get the shape back into it again. So this might be unrealistic, but let's go ahead and try it. So another thing this machine can do, so you can take this little wiggly wire right here and it can weld this. Every rib that is touching the panel, just put a little itty bitty tack weld on it. I'm moving you guys in closer so you can have a better visual here, but so you can see that wiggly wire I put on there. These claws will go in there and hook into each of those ribs like that, and then you can tell you got another slide hammer right here. So this one, you can really put some heat on it. Man, that's actually working pretty good. So I can tell down here, we need to put a little extra emphasis on that. So we can angle this a little bit to where it's gonna pull more on the bottom side. So you're gonna pull up just a hair. Well, we're starting to get some shape back here. We might even be just a hair out this way. So, you know, but it's just minimal. So like I'm saying, you might have just pulled a high spot into it over here. The panel has completely come loose because I've been just going after this thing. But as you can see, I took a Sharpie. I think you guys can probably see that in the time lapse, but I outlined where the dent was and I took a DA sander and basically I've gotten this low spot that was up here. It's kind of shortened down to just this little area right here. So, and then as you can see, the body line is getting closer and closer and closer. I have been going at it so hard that I've actually put some holes along the body line. For this type of thing, I mean, normally I'm gonna be, you know, cutting out some metal and welding it back in, but I am actually pretty impressed. You can actually see too, down here at the bottom, it actually is rolling over the edge of this. So just yanking this thing out actually did move that inner structure a little bit, just enough to get it to relax and get it to slide over. So it's actually wanting to fit on the body already. So but you can clearly see there's still tons of damage here. But so you could go after that and, you know, keep going at it and probably pull this thing all the way out. But I would assume, because of how aggressive I had to be, that's what you're going to be left with on some of those areas that are the worst. But again, you know, this is super easy. You got a MIG welder, you know, you can grind this stuff down, fill all these holes in, and then grind it back down. Like, it'd be perfectly fine. I'm actually kind of shocked. I didn't know that it was going to be able to pull that hard. And as you can see, the body line comes out. It's still low through there, but man, look at that. I mean, it got so much of that out of there. So anyways, let's, I'm going to pull this fender off. Actually, I'm going to set it on a stand over there, and I'm going to beat it. All right, so swinging on this thing, you can see that it brought this out big time. So if you're looking at it from this angle, especially compared to when we first started, I've got it mounted in the same spot, and it's looking way, way better. So this inner structure being jacked up like that, this thing's never going to be the way it needs to be without removing that. And then at that point, you know, I'd go in there and hammer and dolly all this stuff out. Again, this gap right here is gigantic, so don't pay attention to that. But straight across here, that's so much better than when we started. All right, guys, so overall, this was just a challenge to see if this thing was even capable of this kind of stuff. To be completely honest with you, I was kind of skeptical to see if this was going to be able to pull a dent like that out. But when I put the little wavy things on there, and then it just held on after like multiple strikes with my foot up on it for leverage, and it still held on. So I'm actually pretty impressed with how it's able to move the metal like that. I did not think that it was going to be capable of that. I have no doubt that you could go in here and you could straighten all this stuff out just by pulling it. At some point, you're going to have to, you know, do some hammer and dolly work to smooth the whole thing out. But you know, in this tough situation, this thing actually did really, really good. I mean, it shrunk this section right here down to just a little itty bitty spot right here. Maybe has like a little peak right there. But you guys know what this looked like when it started, and it is much, much different. If you're interested in this machine, I'll make sure to leave a link down in the description so that you guys can go check it out. Again, I think that if you're in any of the predicaments that I was just explaining, this machine would be very handy for that type of stuff. I do think I put it to a pretty tall test for this this video. Somebody tells me to test something, I test it. And I put that little wavy thing on there. I thought for sure within 2 strikes that thing was going to come flying off, and somehow it held on. So I think it moved a lot of metal that I was not expecting. So the fact that it took that big caved in spot and kind of made it to where it was like supposed to be. Obviously, if it wasn't for the fact that the inner structure was all jacked up, I think that it would have been perfectly fine for that type of thing. All right, guys, so if you want to see more content on this 67 Mustang, if you want to follow the build, I'll make sure to link to the playlist up here in the corner so you guys can check that out. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one.